But the first question for Jack, the criteria for the award of the Medal of Honor states in part, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity involving risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. Now, the actions described in all the citations involve risk of life. With all of these, in a combat situation, with all of the fast-moving situation and split-second decisions that have to be made, what was going through your mind when you faced this situation, and more specifically, what made you do what you did?
Well, it's very complicated, of course. So those of you who spend time in the crucible of war know that you never really have enough information. You're looking at life through a straw, and so every decision that you make has got to be one that has an excellent chance of being completely and totally wrong. And as a matter of fact, you get inured to making the wrong decision in combat all the time. I was talking with General McCaffrey earlier. The first time I was ever in combat, I called back. I had no idea what I was doing at all. And my radio telephone operator was killed, and a lot of guys killed and wounded. And this was the first, we don't do this anymore. This is the first time I was ever in a live fire exercise, was in combat. Intelligently, we try to prepare kids for it better than we did. In any case, I called back to my boss, who was at some greater distance, lying in a hammock. And I gave him he said, give me a sit rep, and I told him, and he said, well, I'm not there, and I can't make a complete evaluation of your situation, but I will give you some advice. I said frantically, what is it? He said, you better do something, even if it's wrong, out here. Hung up the radio. It's then that I realized that what you're saying is absolutely true. You've got to make split-second decisions, and they have an excellent chance, because you don't have very good information. They have an excellent chance of being wrong. But I think the thing that motivates people to do, everybody who is in a combat situation, to do what he needs to do, is a recognition that, as in Ben Franklin's observation, we either hang together or we hang separately. We fight to defend the country, and we fight to accomplish the mission. But most of all, we fight for each other. I'll give you one brief anecdote that doesn't involve me. It's just a friend of mine, and then I'll shut up. There's a guy named Walter Anderson, a great friend of mine, quit high school at 16 to join the Marine Corps. Back in those days, you could lie about stuff, and well, they didn't know. How old are you? I'm 47. You know. But they were up in Khe Sanh fighting. His squad was outside the wire in a hellacious firefight with the bad guys. And one of the Marines in the squad was stuck out in the open, very badly wounded. And his sergeant, some young E5, probably just promoted, 12 and a half years old or something like that. His kids, they all look 12 and a half years old now, ran out through the fire-swept terrain and brought the young Marine back to safety. And the Marine looked up at his sergeant. The Marine was mortally wounded, but his last words were, he looked up at his sergeant and he said, I knew you'd come for me. It's that kind of stuff that motivates people who are in difficult situations to take care of each other.
Joe?
We wear the medal for all the brave men and women that we serve with in combat whose actions go unsung. So I'm very, very fortunate and lucky to have been recognized by my unit, the 7th Cavalry. And our lineage goes back to General George Armstrong Custer. And in that first major battle of the Vietnam War, we thought we were in another Little Bighorn, surrounded and outnumbered. But we had a lot of assets that Custer did not have. You know, we had the whole division was there to help us. We had tactical air support from the Marines, the Air Force, to provide close air support for us. So it was a total team effort like many of the battles are today. But people have chastised me for not saying, hey, you know, you charged that machine gun position, that bunker. Why didn't you get your men to do it? I tried. In the heat of battle, I was doing sign language to one of my soldiers to go up there and throw a grenade into the bunker. It was a big anthill is what it was, surrounded by shrubs and trees. So he thought I meant to throw it from where we're at, which is about from here to the back of the room. And so he did, and it landed in front and went off and didn't do much damage. Another one of my soldiers, I told him to shoot a light anti-tank weapon. The acronym is a LAW. It's a one-shot disposable, tank-killing weapon, a great weapon. To shoot a LAW into it, and he tried. He put it up and shot, and it didn't go off. It was a misfire, or whatever. So I took the weapon from him and I closed it up, and I opened it again, which is what you do to try to make it work a second time. And I did it this time, and it went off for me. And it made a big boom, a big cloud of dust, but it didn't destroy all the enemy. There were still some bad guys in the trees and around the area. So so rather than waste any more time, because we were trying to get to a platoon that was trapped, surrounded on the side of that mountain called Chupong, I told my men to hold their fire. I didn't want to get shot by my own men, and just charged to the position and threw a grenade over it, and then shot some more with my M16. And right after that happened, I was shot in the jaw and come out the other side by someone further in the back, not from my own men or from that position. So I'm very, very fortunate to be evacuated. We had great support, but that's basically, we had great men, and as a leader, we lead by example. We try to set the example for our men. We wouldn't ask our men to do anything we wouldn't do ourselves. But that was a pretty tough battle. It was a 3-day battle. We went in with 450 soldiers in the 7th Cavalry, that battalion, our battalion, and we had 79 killed in action and 121 wounded in action. Joe Galloway was the embedded reporter there. He's back in the back there and did a great job with the book, and our battalion commander, Hal Moore. Thank you very much.
Gordon.
Sir, not a whole lot that I can add on to what the gentlemen have already said, other than perhaps the issue of leadership. And that's not from us. When we're doing that, we're not the leaders. But in my particular incident, that friendly force, by the way, that was mentioned and stuff was Delta Company. It was a sister company in our battalion. I think, is Owen out here? Owen Ditchfield was the company commander of that unit. And my company commander came up to us just as we were getting ready to go up the ridge line to try and reach his unit and stuff, and simply said, we're going to go up this ridge and we're going to get to him tonight, or we're going to bury him in the morning. And that purpose, direction, and motivation was clearly stated in a few short words there, and provides the impetus that all soldiers need. So I would simply add on that piece that what's really, really important is that young soldiers today and leaders learn to communicate very concisely and clearly in very hectic situations to get missions like that accomplished, and to get out of young 5'8", 120-pound specialists the sort of actions that they need.
I'd only add to that, and it's very similar to what Jack and Joe and Gordon have said, and that is when you're with a group of soldiers for every day, making combat assaults and going through these dangerous times, there's a special bond that sets in there. And so there's caring that goes on, and compassion and consideration for your fellow soldier, the soldier to the left, soldier to the right. And as I watched that, I continued to ask the question the entire time I was a company commander, what is it that makes these soldiers do what they have to do every day on the battlefield? Because every day there's a different scenario, there's a different requirement. You go on a combat assault, you have to have call for a tunnel rat to go into tunnels. There are stay-behind ambushes, which are dangerous. And I found, intuitively we know it's teamwork and discipline and training and education, but I found the most compelling motivation was this business of caring and respect and consideration, and especially this notion of respect. When soldiers respect one another so much that they will do anything to prevent them from being killed or wounded, you can have a pretty powerful infantry company that can get the mission done on a continual basis. And I think that lesson learned about respect you can take and put into any other kind of an organization also.